Good afternoon, and welcome to the second episode of the Fempire Revival podcast. My name is Liz, and I'm here today with Margaret, Natalia, Gwen, and our producer, Erica. Thank you, Erica, for being our producer. Y'all aren't going to hear from her today because she's busy helping us out behind the curtain. Today, we wanted to take a minute to introduce some of the ladies behind our project and talk about why we're here and doing this. But before we do that, I'd like to let everybody introduce themselves in a shorter form. Margaret, could you introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Margaret. I wrote down a few paragraphs. Would now be a good time to read that?
Um, no, I think uh, just in general, like where you're from and about how old you are.
Oh, okay. Hi, everybody. I'm 23, college student, hoping to get my associates in transfer studies of the arts at the end of this semester. And I am in Michigan right now. I'm not from Michigan, but I'm enjoying living there when it isn't freezing cold.
Oh, that's fantastic. I grew up in Michigan. We'll have to talk about that later.
Oh yeah.
Natalia?
Hey, lovely to be here. I'm not very good at introductions, honestly. So yeah, great to be here. I may talk later. Yeah.
Natalia is not joining us from the United States. I'm not going to say specifically where she's from because I don't think that she wants everyone to know. Uh, Gwen,
Yeah.
last but certainly not least. Gwen, could you introduce yourself?
Yes, I can.
Excellent.
I just had to unmute my mic. So, I'm Gwen. I'm from Texas. I was born here, spent most of my life here. The only time I wasn't here was when I was in the Navy. Uh, I am now a disabled veteran, and I, yeah, we can talk more later.
That's right. Thank you so much for joining us, Gwen. And I am Liz. I am in my 40s and I currently live in Florida. Um, I came about feminism and centering women because my story is kind of one of those ones that makes you go, yeah, that'll really drive you to feminism. I was adopted when I was 3.5. My mother was a teenage mother. She got pregnant when she was 15, and her father immediately married her off to a man who got her pregnant with twins immediately after that and then left. And so she struggled to find a way to take care of us and ended up with yet another man who also did not deliver on his promises and knocked her up again to the point where the state stepped in and separated us all. And so my little brother went to live with family. My two sisters were raised like servants in a pastor's family, and I went up to be a pretty spoiled only child up in Michigan, as was mentioned earlier. And in that time, my whole life, people tried to get me to hate my birth mother. And it worked too, right up until I found out that shortly after having us taken away, a man came up to her and asked her out on a date on her birthday. And she was lonely and found it a little flattering, and she went out with them. And he killed her because he said that he had always wanted to know what it was like to kill a woman, and he didn't think she had any real value. And then I had to go and I had to look at her life again and ask myself, where the hell were all the people that should have supported her? How come she was 16 with a baby on her own, just being given to a man to take care of, why didn't she have better resources? And I started to realize that the entire way it had been framed was fundamentally unfair. My mother's story wasn't the story of an individual's failing, it was a failure of society to value women, to value motherhood, and to value the bond that children have with their mothers. And instead, place all of that value on having a job and having enough money to be able to support a child, which in my mind is not centering human beings, it's centering human systems. And so that's how I came to be at a place where I wanted to reject things that men had made me center in my life and men themselves and just focus on the healing act of helping other women and being a part of other women's stories and lifting up other women and just maybe letting the dudes go and do their own things for a while. Um, Margaret, would you like to talk a little bit about yourself? I think you mentioned that you had written down some stuff.
Yes, I wrote down a few paragraphs, and here goes. Hello, everyone. My name is Henry Margaret. I use both those names in various situations, and either one is fine here. I'm genderqueer and in the process of learning to become comfortable with that. I'm currently in school. I went over this before. My hobbies include creative writing, sci fi and fantasy books, knitting, and drawing. For me, like many people, the re-election of Donald Trump was an unbelievable blow to my faith in contemporary American society. And as I looked for a way to deal with that, I found this group. My queerness has been integral to my development as a person. Unfortunately, were it not for me myself being a member of a marginalized group, I doubt I would ever have bothered to learn about the flaws that run so deep in our society. Now I'm determined to continue to examine the blind spots I still have in regards to such things as race, class, or colonialism. I've really enjoyed being a part of this group socially and look forward to helping it grow into a robust community that can continue to do good and help people. I would say that what's most important to me is leaving the world better than how I came into it. And Raina, I was born in Texas. I don't remember it at all, but hey, I got a little Texas in me, possibly.
I love the last thing you said there. I think of that as campfire rules. You're supposed to, when you go camping, you always try to make sure it's better than when you got there. And
Yes.
that's how I try to live my life too. What a wonderful sentiment. And I really like the humility in knowing that if you weren't queer, you might not have ever explored that side of the world. Being marginalized does force us to see the world in ways that we otherwise would not have. Gwen, do you feel comfortable going next? Oh, and I'm so sorry. Haley joined us. Haley, how are you today? Do you want to give us your elevator introduction? We can't hear you. All right. Gwen, why don't you start and then Haley can figure out why her microphone doesn't work while you tell your story. Okay. Gwen, are you there?
I'm sorry. Mic issues. Let
Oh,
me.
both of you at once. How unfortunate.
Yeah.
My
Can you
instinct
hear
is
me?
to help you guys. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Good. I'm Gwen. Or Gwen Reyna, and I did not prepare any paragraph. I should have. That was smart. I was in the Navy for 5 years. They were terrible years, even though I was in Washington State, which was absolutely amazing, and I loved it. But I did not thrive in the Navy. I was mistreated. I was in the Navy during Don't Ask, Don't Tell. I was still in the process of figuring out exactly what my queer identity was. I knew I was queer, but I didn't fully understand my queerness yet, to the extent that I do now. I'm sure it's going to be an ever evolving process throughout my life. But it was during Don't Ask, Don't Tell, or DADT, which for any listeners that aren't familiar with that means I wasn't allowed to say I was queer or be caught being queer. And in return, they couldn't ask if I was queer. They didn't have to ask. I heard through the grapevine that everyone assumed I was anyway, and there were near constant uh, heckling and jokes, not necessarily directed at me, but around me. A lot of homophobia, a lot of transphobia, and this was mild compared to some places. So, in a sense, I lucked out. I was on submarines, and I was deeply dissatisfied with our mission. I was deeply uncomfortable with why we were there, which was involved the end of the world just in case. And we did drills where we pretended to destroy the world just in case we ever had to. But fortunately, I got out of that. I, because of what I endured during the Navy, I've developed panic attacks and anxiety. I am a disabled veteran, and as for feminism and leftism, I've always thought of myself as a feminist. I always thought of myself as being progressive or liberal or even leftist, but I didn't really understand what it was until I really started researching leftism over the past year. And I was inspired to, if inspire is the right word, because of my fury at the Democratic Party, which I've supported for years, and their stubborn complicity with the genocide in Gaza. Not just that they directly aided and abetted the genocide of tens of thousands of people and an entire community and culture and people to the best of their ability, with any refusal to explore options that would actually work to stop it. I was horrified, and I had to find another way, and I did. And that ultimately led me to a couple communities, including this one. And I think I've been rambling way too long, so I'm gonna let someone else talk.
I was about to grab the conversation from you because it sounded like you came to the end of it.
Yeah,
Uh,
all yours.
if you were here right now, I just want you to know that I would like to hug you so much. It seems like an unfair burden to place on a human being to have to role play bringing on the end of the world more
It was
than
awful.
once is bad enough, but repeatedly is just I'm sorry that this
At
is
least once a
how
month.
our species is choosing to live.
Yeah.
Like,
And I had to do my part to pull the lever or whatever, my little role.
I'm sorry, I'm
But
slightly speechless.
there's boats like this are still out there. I can't go into too much detail about exactly what they do and how the world's going to end, but it should be pretty obvious. And I mean, it's even on Wikipedia. It's an open secret.
No, I as soon as you said it, I was like, "Of course, that's a thing." Like, it didn't sound unbelievable. It just
Yeah.
sounded very unfortunately like something that's happening. Haley, did you get your microphone working? No? I'm sorry, sweetie. Okay. Natalia.
Yeah, hi.
Hi. Did you want to talk about how you came to be in this group and came to feminism or anarchy?
Yeah, in general, I think things are bullshit, obviously. Being poor, that doesn't really make me very sympathetic to the system, you know that. And obviously, I think all people deserve liberation, but especially women because we've just been like so thoroughly fucked, like forever, pretty much. So that's why I'm a feminist and an anarchist. I just want to
I
liberate
think
people. I just want.
obviously everything's bullshit is the best reason anybody's given yet. Thank you. I mean,
Hmm.
continue, but also thank you.
I know because like when you're poor and you're just like not in the best place, you kind of just realize it. Oh yeah, looks like everything is bullshit. Like whether the system we have is just like made up of social constructs that we can destroy. Nothing is innate. So yeah, I want to liberate women. I want to liberate everyone else as well. That's why I'm a feminist and an anarchist. As I said before.
I feel like I've always been waiting for everybody else to catch up with me because when you spend your life playing make believe for other people. I'm so sorry. Erica, were you trying to speak? No? Okay. Yeah, when you spend your life playing make believe for other people, as soon as puberty hit and like like my next stage started to assert itself, I started to be like, wait a second, what the fuck is all of this? And I just and people kept insisting that like that the system was like fair and based on merit or whatever, and I just like it never seemed right to me, and I've kind of just been waiting for everybody else to realize it and to stop playing make believe.
Same. Honestly, it just feels like so weird when I talk to people and they still just like really I believe it like somehow everything is not bullshit. And I just want to reform the system or something, but we've already tried to reform it if nothing is happening. We just got fascism again. So yeah, maybe we'll just burn our hand this time again and we'll learn. But I really doubt it because we learned nothing after 2 world wars.
I live like where a bunch of like old people are retired and I talk to them all the time and sometimes I'm like, are you guys just like on really intense drugs or something? Because I feel like their version of reality and the one that I live in are not the same thing. Like it doesn't mash up. Everybody can talk now, by the way. We ended the personal segments.
Yay, I'm free.
I
Truly,
apologize. We'll
we have
have
been
to have
freed
a
from
more
prison.
refined way to say that in future.
Can you all hear me now?
Haley!
Yes.
Yes, you
Yay.
can.
I
All right,
totally forgot
everybody
that
shut
phones
up.
were an option.
It's Haley's turn to talk. Haley, sound
Yes,
off.
ma'am. So I'm Haley. I have always been a feminist. Some of my earliest memories obviously, like, I was too young to understand feminism, but like looking back, like they were feminists. Like, I have a younger brother who's a couple years younger than me, and I could tell like as early as like 4 or 5 years old that like we were treated differently because I was a girl and he was a boy, and I was not about that life. Um, and so I've always just kind of been feminist. Like, I remember when I was 5 years old, my brother was getting signed up for karate classes, and I was like, that sounds so cool, I want to do karate too. And my mom, she denies it to this day that this happened, but like it definitely fucking happened, I promise y'all it did. My mom was like, don't you want to do like a girl's sport instead of a boy's sport? And like 5-year-old me was like, no, fuck that, I'm gonna do karate. And that trend just kind of continued throughout my life. And then this past election, I was so hopeful, guys. I really was. I thought we were getting the first woman president. And then when that didn't happen, all of the anger of all of the years just kind of boiled over. And I found myself here amongst you lovely ladies. So that's kind of just a brief overview of my backstory. I don't want to take up too much time since I know we were just about to finish with the introductions. But that's how I ended up here.
Thank you so much. You can, I mean, you can talk more if you want to. I think now we're just like conversating with each other about the subject more than anything. So if you had a point, you were going to continue.
No, it just that it's always been my life. I ended up joining the Marine Corps, like y'all know, when I was 17. So I am also a military background that we have here, and for obvious reasons, you know, a lot of that definitely pushed me towards being more of a feminist than I already was, because that was a whole lot of bullshit as far as being a woman. So yeah, just a lot of little things building up over my entire lifetime, and here I am.
The thing about the karate really got me because I also wanted to do karate and I wasn't allowed to, and I also wanted to skateboard and I wasn't allowed to do that, but I was allowed to get like the 90s. We had these things called aggressive rollerblades kids, and they had like a little metal point so that you could go, like you could put like wax on curbs and like benches and stuff and then jump up and slide down them, and I was allowed to do that, but I wasn't allowed to skateboard. And I've always felt like there was some kind of gender role issue because they were both as dangerous as each other.
Yeah,
Honestly,
five-year-old me was not about that shit. I called my mom out immediately. I was like, no, like she definitely wanted me to do like dance or like gymnastics or something like more like little girl leaning, and I was like, no, fuck that. Like if my brother's doing it, then I'm doing it too. And I actually ended up, I did it for 5 years. Um and I actually ended up doing it longer than he did. He dropped out before I did. I ended up going all the way to my black belt. So there, mom.
I think our producer actually would like to talk about herself too. So I am going to hand the floor over to Erica.
Hi, everyone. I'm Erica, and those of you who don't know me yet, I actually have my own podcast, The Anarchist Transmission, and yes, it is a play on words. So I'm a little bit of a standout in this group. I'm not specifically a feminist or want to advance feminism in and of itself, but I did get into this place by relating with Liz on anarchism. So, a little bit of background about myself. I am trans, and I grew up in a very oppressive religion. I was a Jehovah's Witness, and I went along with the bull for about 18 years. And then after realizing that the end of the world just was never going to come, I decided it's time to stop. And so I worked for a couple of years and I joined the Marine Corps. Kind of like Haley, but I joined at 20 instead of 17. And it's always been in the back of my head that I was trans. The biggest issue was I was diagnosed with gender dysphoria when I was a young child. And I tried to be the manly man for years and years and years. And joining the Marine Corps was part of that. Because of all of that, I didn't start transitioning until I was 30 years old. And I am fast approaching 40 at this point. But ever since I've come out and started transitioning, I've noticed more and more these men, you can't put it any other way, these men that act as if we are not able to transition, like it's an impossible thing to do. And that's kind of what's driven me to decenter men in my life. My biggest reason for being here is I want to be able to produce this podcast for all of the ladies here, simply because I know I have the ability, I know I have the technical expertise, and I want to see everyone in this server succeed.
And we appreciate you so much, Erica.
Yes, thank you for that. Love you.
Yeah, love you.
You're awesome.
You are. Thank you. And, I've thought occasionally about podcasting just seemed fun. I'm just not good at, projects. I'm okay with starting them, but finishing projects, what is this strange magic?
It's so
I'm
true.
with you. Podcast seems like so much fun, but also I think, like, personally, I need to put in a little more effort into my role of things if I'm going to host, because I'm not pulling it off quite as well as I could be.
I think you're doing fine.
Listen, if any of you goes back in time to listen to the very first podcast I did with Dale and Stoner and Z and everyone that was originally in my server, you're going to find out really quick that it took me a while to get everything put together. I mean, our old podcast was very janky, and it takes some work. It doesn't take a lot of hard work, but just figuring out how things work in unison with each other, getting all of the microphones, getting the software, setting up the stream links and the stream keys so that the software will work with the different services. There's a lot of little tiny parts, and if you take them one little piece at a time and then come back in another couple days, everything just comes together.
We were talking in the chat, not to completely change the subject, about the idea of anarchism and feminism not being contradictory, and also how I consider I'm an anarchist to be the only acceptable substitute to I'm a feminist.
Mm-hmm. Can I jump in with my thoughts about that?
Go ahead.
I was
you have more
hoping
to say?
everyone would. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I made 2 points, and they're connected points, but that I do think that feminism is important, that feminism is essential, but it's insufficient. unless you have intersectionality. This is not a hot take. There's nothing novel about this view, but it's so important that it needs to be said that if all you caring about is women's liberation and you're ignoring every other struggle, then you're leaving behind a lot of women. And to be honest, women aren't the only ones harmed by patriarchy. Even men, to an extent, while they benefit from patriarchy, they're also harmed by patriarchy through conditioning towards toxic gender roles. Um, and as for anarchism, it has to have feminism. It has to have anti-racism, because hierarchy is inherent to patriarchy. It's inherent to racism. And since anarchy rejects that kind of hierarchy, I don't think you can be an anarchist and not. Apologies to Erica. I know you said you don't necessarily identify with feminism as a movement, but I think to an extent, being an anarchist and a consistent anarchist means you are to some extent a feminist simply because you're rejecting the hierarchy of patriarchy. But I don't want to put words in your mouth either. It's
Not
just how I view the relationship between the philosophies.
Yeah, it's I don't feel like you're putting words in my mouth. I generally just don't take on any other moniker because I see it personally as futile or unnecessary. Being the fact that anarchism does reject hierarchy, or more so, a key point or a key leader, I see all of these movements, especially feminist movements. I see. I've seen religious movements, and they all have key leaders, and I don't like it. I don't want them. What I want is people working in unison, not so much communist, but community. I mean, most people that occupy certain spaces that I also occupy, they hear communism and they think Russia.
Which was never communist, by the way.
No, I know it wasn't.
No, I should just mention it because people generally don't know sometimes.
I think it bears stating that every supposedly existing socialist country has failed to be socialist or communist and is all tended towards, I mean, in my view, maybe some will disagree with this, have tended towards de facto fascism, dictatorship, and through hierarchy failed to achieve their stated philosophical goals. Not a hot take.
I think it's interesting when you consider these concepts from a perspective of human behavior too, because of course hierarchy is going to lead to problems because it's the othering of people, and human beings as social creatures, we tend to like being part of an in-group, but in order for there to be an in-group, there has to be an out-group. And I think that when there's hierarchy, it provides ample opportunity to other people, basically, and to say, well, those people aren't good enough, or those people don't meet these arbitrary standards that makes them part of the in-group. So, it kind of leads to dehumanization in that way. So it's all interconnected,
Well,
I
and
think that's a great segue to like actually explore the idea of why decentering men is not harmful to them or us punishing them. Is that a tough one?
I think it's just necessary
It's
in
an
order to
interesting one.
actually.
Sorry, go on.
I think it's actually necessary in order to be actually equal because, well, it's always centered on them. So by decentering them, we're actually just putting ourselves in equal footing, which I think is fair. Of course, I
Yeah,
don't
I
see
mean,
that way.
it's not like they're giving us any thought. Why would we give them any thought?
I know they do
As
give us thought.
people.
No,
Mhm.
they do. They want to enslave us. That's pretty much the only thought they give women. But yeah.
I think
Yeah.
one of the things I've learned about men, because I don't think that all men are evil, but I think that men collectively need to get their shit together. And I've learned that men only change when they're changing for them. Like they're not gonna change because women have been collectively like complaining about it. But if we're like, all right, bet, like go off and like be unwell together and lonely, and we're going to focus on each other, and they can see that we're building community. I think that that's actually more inspirational than like trying to nag men and trying to get them to like go to therapy or whatever. Like that obviously doesn't work, but like just like being good examples of how to have community that's uplifting to them, that they can see and do as well, is a realistic solution that doesn't put women's lives in danger.
It's also like a consequence, right? Like the whole thing with men in the patriarchy is that generally they can kind of do whatever the fuck they want and there are no consequences to them for what they've done. And if we decenter men and say, you know what, we're just done with y'all, we're gonna go live our lives, you do you and we'll do us, and we'll just, not really think of each other, that's like an actual consequence to them because they love attention, man. They want our attention specifically. And if we don't give it to them, that's a legitimate consequence to them for their behavior, which is something that they don't really get a lot of in our society.
I do think that women need to stop amplifying men when they have bad behavior. Like I understand that Andrew Tate is a very annoying person and that we all want to talk about him. I do. But he's also looks like Gollum from like the Lord of the Rings movies now, and it I think if we give him attention, he'll start looking like he used to, and if we just ignore him, he'll like crawl into a swamp somewhere and start like
I
jumping
agree.
out, scaring hobbits.
Like, he just he got. Sorry.
Mhm.
no, I'm sorry. I was doing the Smeagol impression.
Oh, he just gets angry when he's not given attention. Like right now, he's trying to be running for UK public office, which will backfire because I'm pretty sure he's a criminal. He's not even allowed to run. But whatever, that's
But
just
see,
a side tangent anyway.
if we
Um,
stop talking about him, he'll die off like that. Do y'all remember that Milo Yiannopoulos guy? Did you ever hear
He
yeah,
about
has
his
not
isn't
died
he?
story?
off.
No one talks
Oh,
I
about it.
he's
remember.
so funny. He's gay, and then he's just like, oh, actually, I'm not gay any longer because conservatism has convinced me to not be, or something like that.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
Milo
So
was like one of the only open gays on the right, and now he's claiming he's no longer gay, which is a lie, by the way.
Milo has hitched his wagon to Nick Fuentes and to Kanye.
I'm sure about that.
And you still don't hear about him. It's great.
No, but I
Yeah,
see him on
we should
Twitter
do
all
the
the
same.
time.
And we should do
Oh,
the
well,
same then.
Twitter. Ladies, recently Facebook walked back its policy on misogyny as well as bigotry in general. And I know you've heard this before, but it bears repeating. If you're not paying for something online, then you're the product. And if
Mm-hmm.
you don't want a misogynistic shithead to sell your personal information, delete your fucking Facebook account and your Instagram. Okay?
So
Like, he doesn't
But
value
then
you.
how
He thinks
will
it's
but
okay.
if you're
but
okay, I want to. Sorry.
no, go ahead. I was just
Yeah,
gonna make a stupid joke anyway.
if anyone who is in the EU is watching this, please just do not delete it through Facebook's website. Send them an email with a GDPR request because they cannot ignore that and they will actually have to delete your data, which I do not trust they do if you actually delete your account manually from their service. Because it's Facebook. I just don't trust them. They've been fined so many times for violating data laws.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, sorry, please continue.
No. It's so we all carry around this device in our pocket that we use to access Facebook that in fact is a communication device itself. And I just like to suggest that you just fucking text your family, okay? Like, stop using Facebook and text your family. Use your phone number. You pay for that thing. You probably pay $70 a month to be able to text people. And instead of texting people, you get on social media to be in contact with them instead. Don't do that shit. Just save their number.
$70. I pay
Makes sense.
150.
This like reminds
Google
me.
Fi. No, hold on a second, Erica. Google Fi has unlimited internet for like $72. They're not paying me to endorse them. It's just a damn good service, and it works everywhere.
I'm
It's
playing around. I have 2 cell phone plans. One is Google Fi and one is Verizon Wireless.
Okay. All right,
Honestly, I'm the
there we
kind
go.
of person to just have one permanent number, and then just for my second SIM slot, I just buy trash numbers I'll never use again. It's so fun. Because it means that I don't actually get spam on any of my phone numbers because they just get thrown away after like 6 months. Or at least it's cheap to get a prepaid here. I'm not sure about the US. Anyway, what I was going to say earlier is that I like a specific family member of mine uses several services, none of which are SMS, to just contact another person, and I don't get it. Just use one thing, please.
Nobody has called my phone that I pay for. Although I do admit, I should say that I have a good amount of my adopted family blocked from my phone.
Fair. What I do with like the throwaway numbers is I just use them for like services that I don't want to give my number to. I'll be honest. But
I
they're
love
used
the
for
blockchain.
throwaway accounts, and they're like not even expensive. I don't know about the US again, but yeah. That's what I use. If I need to sign up for something that's completely unrelated, though, please continue. What you were saying?
No. It's I was just having. I guess I'm having my old lady rant here because I keep seeing people be like, "But how will I communicate with people if I delete my Facebook and like or my Instagram?" And it's just it's very frustrating to me as somebody who grew up with just a phone. You know, like that's what we had when I was a teenager, and we sat and we talked on the phone with each other for hours and hours and hours, and then also on AOL Instant Messenger. And I feel like people just like do not want to just pick up the phone and call each other anymore, and instead they want to tell all their personal information to Mark Zuckerberg, who thinks that it's okay to call you a household object, or tell gay people that they're like have a mental illness because we've just given in to like the poor behavior. I don't know. Somewhere
Honestly,
along the line. Sorry, yes.
Mark Zuckerberg is like absolutely getting a divorce. By the way, he's just hiding it. Like you're going to see that headline in like 2 months.
Masculine energy.
Yeah, masculine energy in the
100%.
workplace, whatever that means. Please, someone enlighten me. What does it mean? I don't know, genuinely.
I'm so happy I never got into social media, and it wasn't because I had principles. It was because it seemed like so much work.
That's so fair though.
Technically on social media, but like I don't know what to say. Like, what do I use it for? Like, at all.
I will
Let's-
say,
Mark,
Liz, I'll give you a different perspective on why I haven't deleted my Facebook. How else would I be able to look back at 13-year-old me's thoughts and feelings that I felt the need to spout out to the fucking world and remind myself how cringy I was as a teenager?
Haley, Haley, that's an excellent question, and I will tell you how. You can request all of your data from Facebook, download it, and keep it on your computer, and then you can always look at it and still delete your account.
Let's
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll
let's
have to look into doing that because
That's
I
what I
mean,
did before I deleted my account.
yeah,
let's
I need
be
something to keep me in check. And if it involves me looking at how fucking cringy I was in the past, like, so be it.
let's be honest though.
I
The main reason why you should generally be getting off social media is because the government's spying on you. The government's spying on the entire world. The US government has been running a fucking data collection on the entire world for over a decade. Well over a decade at this point. Everyone remembers all that shit that happened back in 2011, 2012 with
No.
with the Verizon scandal.
Mm-hmm.
So honestly, it doesn't matter if you've got social media or you've got a cell phone. They're tracking everything. They know everything you fucking do.
Mm-hmm.
And this
But
is why every
at that
once in a
point,
while,
though, sorry, just a question. At that point, though, when there's so much irrelevant information in the mix, are they getting beneficial information? Would be my question. Because I don't know, the social media I see, people just be spouting off the stupidest shit all the time. Like, if
it's
they
my
have to
belief
wait
that the
through
U.S.
100.
government.
Sorry, go ahead.
Erica, sorry.
It's not about beneficial. It's about tracking everyone and making sure that they're not a threat. They've got, especially now that AI has become a huge fucking thing. They've got all of these programs running on these huge server farms sniffing out if anyone becomes a threat. I mean, you guys saw right wingers lose their fucking minds when the ATF and FBI released, or didn't release, but had a document leak saying what you should look out for on terrorism, or things that may indicate a person is a terrorist. And one of those things is the Gadsden flag. One of those things is the American flag. One of those things is just about anything that anyone who's a fan of the establishment of the U.S. is going to have somewhere within their life.
This is why it's very important that every now and then you take your friends out to a park and you take your cell phones and you leave them in the fucking car and you go out into the middle of the woods and you have the most radical conversations you can.
And you do not drive a modern car. It has to be at least 1999. If not
You
older.
should be able to fix your own vehicle without having a fucking tablet with the right program in it.
Yes.
The auto industry right now is bullshit, and everybody should know that.
The
Is that, like-
computerization of cars just drives me absolutely insane, regardless of like anything else. Like, if I buy a car from you, yeah, I shouldn't need an IT person like with a mechanic to fix my car, in my perspective.
Thank you. Okay,
Hey.
because I thought it was
I
just me being an old person. Like, how the fuck is this a thing? Like, you shouldn't need. My ex was a mechanic, and he had like a tablet that had all the software on it, and he told me one time that thing was worth like thousands of dollars because of the software in it, and explained this to me. And I don't drive, but it sounds like some fucking bullshit.
It totally is.
Oh, by the way,
Recently, one of my friends' boyfriends, like, he has a newer version of a car with one of the more computerized key fobs. and the key just stopped working. It was like a push to start or something. The key just stopped working. And then in order to replace it, it was like $500. I was like, that's insanity. And the only reason that it's that expensive is because of this relatively unnecessary new technology that we're putting in cars. Like, why? It literally just makes it more expensive. I'll never get behind it. I hate it. Y'all know how I feel about technology, though.
Don't be
I'm
lazy.
a
Go
firm,
outside and start your own fucking car.
yeah, I'm a firm believer that we should start doing. Oh, I'm so sorry, Natalia. You talk first.
Yes, I was going to say, if it makes you feel better, Western car makers are so fucking incompetent nowadays that it's going to be the Chinese spying on you in 10 years. Not any
Yeah, my
sellers, because the
Ford.
Chinese already know everything about you. Facebook sold all your data to them, but just
Mm-hmm.
saying.
So let's ban TikTok.
How far away are we from being able to 3D print a car?
Oh, you
I
wouldn't
don't.
you wouldn't 3D print a car, would you?
I would absolutely 3D print a car just to see if it worked.
I
You
am.
wouldn't download a car.
In a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. Those
Okay, yeah, true.
commercials
Who
always
wouldn't?
cracked me up when I was a kid because you wouldn't download a car. Yeah, only because I can't.
Yeah.
I would download a
I,
house
that
if I could.
Right? I
I
would download
am
anything.
so upset that whoever invented 3D printers didn't choose to call them replicators.
No, I
Yes,
feel
Call them
yes.
that if you want.
Let's
Nobody's
get the
stopping you.
Stargate reference in here.
It's a point of contention.
Serious Star
it's
Trek
an important point of contention. A replicator is in so much work of science fiction, and they went with 3D printer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, it
I've
prints
been
in 3D. I think. I don't know what it does. I think it does that.
They could have gone with MakerBot too. And I think that isn't that what they're called in Philip K. Dick's world?
Ooh, that does sound catchy.
Yeah.
You wouldn't
yeah.
download a car. You wouldn't download a gun. Fuck you. Yes, I would.
You
In
can right now.
heartbeat. Every time they make these things, I'm like, do you really think you're talking to me? Did you guys do the drug awareness resistance education training when you were kids?
Oh, of
Yes.
No,
course.
I didn't.
Dare?
Did you then the first time you were in college and smoke a joint go, what the fuck else were they lying about?
I know a lot of people who are in the smoke-free class of 2000. It was this American thing that started smoking. They made people that were going to graduate in the year 2000 wear these bright yellow shirts that said smoke-free class of 2000 and dance around at, like, I don't know, medical conferences and stuff about how they weren't going to dance and do stupid skits about not smoking, how they weren't going to smoke ever. And they were going
You
to
know,
be the first class to not smoke at all. And like half of them smoked.
it is crazy though, because we're making fun of these ineffective campaigns, but before I quit smoking 5 years ago, I left my lighter at home one day, and in Philadelphia, I could not find a single person with a lighter. And I started to feel like I was the only one left in the city that smoked. So,
because
like,
it's
it
vape
really was
now.
effective.
That's
Yeah.
crazy because I just walk around with a lighter even though I don't smoke cigs anymore. I mean, I smoke other stuff, but not when I'm out and about. But I just always have a lighter on me. They're just handy to have.
Oh yeah, and because I become an adult, it was the first time in a long time that I had gotten caught out of the house without my lighter, too. So, like, I mean, like years and years, and so it was just kind of eye-opening that nobody else had one. And then when I tried to quit later, a traditional thing that you go through when you try to quit smoking is you stop buying cigarettes. So you decide, well, I'll just buy a cigarette off of somebody, and you walk around and you offer people 50 cents for a cigarette. I think if you've quit smoking, this is familiar. And I couldn't find anybody to buy a cigarette off of either. But it just, people don't smoke as much.
Which is
It
good,
is.
but I don't think it's because of the smoke-free class of 2000. I'm sorry.
Honestly,
It
good.
is.
Everyone here smokes, and it like absolutely kills my lungs. Even like beyond what they already are. It's like
That
so
is
much.
such a
So
shame.
like, yes, I generally rather people just don't smoke.
Okay, we are coming up on 1 minute until the end of the stream.
I was just about to say that. Erica,
Okay.
you took the words right out of my mouth.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that.
No. I like it. It's fine. I in fact like having you around because you are efficient and you care about things like having a minute left. Ladies, thank you all so much for joining us today. We're gonna quickly go around. Haley, any last thoughts?
Nope. Happy to be here like always.
Margaret,
Thanks for having me.
great to have
Happy
you.
to be here and get to know everybody.
Natalia
Yes, I'm as well. Say lovely to be here.
and Gwen.
My last thought is that Meta, before the recent ending of censorship, and Meta after they decided to let hate speech reign free, looks identical. Nothing really changed. They just made it formal. And I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I didn't catch the last part because it was at 0. But all right,
No,
not a bad message to go out on. I'm not mad at all.
we
All
have
right.
we have not ended yet.
Oh, my bad.
It's okay.
All right. Well, in that case, thank you all for joining us today, and we really appreciate you stopping by and listening. And Erica, did you have any last thoughts?
Not at all. I will see everyone next week.
That's all right. I will see you guys all next week.